Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining the discussion today, focusing on the 19th chapter of the book, Jesus in Our Days. We are coming to a close of our program together, and I already miss this opportunity to talk to you about this amazing book. But as you can see through the table content, we've been through 19 today, 19 topics together. But before we go over them, I just wanted to remind everyone that the psychological series by spiritual author Joanna de Angelis is a very powerful and impactful series of books. I am here honored to present some of the main ideas focused specifically in this book, and intent, just as a by the way, of this series of our live talks is to simply pinpoint, highlight, discuss some of the very, very insightful messages contained in the first book of the psychological series. Jesus in Our Days is a very small book. I like to bring that because each chapter ranges about maybe 3, maximum 4 pages of a rather small book, right? But each week we read them, and as we dive into these teachings that are given to us, those nuggets of wisdom, those pearls of wisdoms, I am taken by how much they they teach us, they touch us as well. In every chapter, Joanna de Angelis, and I like to bring that up because it's a term that Joanna brings up several times throughout her work, is that her focus is to bring a Jesus that's no longer in the cross. It's an uncrucified Jesus, which just simply means it is a person, just like you and me. But in any case, I invite you to welcome Jesus in your life and to let him help you and I address some of the challenges, situations as we go through our daily confrontations, right? So to me, his therapeutical teachings teach me about health, peace, and happiness. Today, as you can see, we're on our 19th chapter, and next week we will come back to conclude the book with its final chapter, Jesus and Enemies. And here we're going to spend a few moments talking about, yes, the subtext, those are my words, of happiness and contempt, right? And I start by bringing to us the fact that 10 years ago, the United Nations declared March, specifically March 20th, as the International Day of Happiness. And since then, this is a time um, overall, and we're talking about generally speaking, right? More and more people have become to believe that our success as a country, as part of a nation within a country, should be judged by the happiness of the people. So it's really cool as we shift the entire judgment of how well you're doing, not by GDP or other economical measures, but how do you feel? How happy are you? And as difficult as it is, right? We come to term with, okay, so we're doing this. We're measuring how happy you are, and with that, we're ranking countries by the happiest or not so happy country in the world. So, which countries do you think are the most successful as they're measured in terms of happiness and, really important, overall life satisfaction? And what can we learn from them? Well, according to the latest, the 2023 World Happiness Report, that's how it's called, Finland is the happiest country in the world, and it's been measured as such for the past 6 years. Yes, Finland. It's followed by other Nordics country, Denmark, Iceland, and Netherlands, Luxembourg. Israel is an outlier outside of Northern Europe. But in any case, go look it out. It's a very interesting. But what do we learn from this report, and why is this even related to what we're talking today? Well, this report is a measurement of how uh, you, as a citizen of that country, perceive yourself to be in terms of your own happiness, right? And while these results are based entirely on a perception that will vary from your attitudinal behavior, like let's could we calibrate how I perceive my happiness versus what? No, we don't. But anyways, these results are based entirely on a self-reported perception of satisfactions, right? The attributes of the factors in the report that will lead to the sense of life is good is, and we could say yes, they're richer countries, they have a higher GBT per capita, right? They have a very strong social support systems. Let's say higher, their life expectancy is higher. They are freer. They have a greater sense of freedom of expression, and there is no evidence of government corruption, right? And interesting enough, high, high ranking in charitable living, right, and giving. So it's really interesting because if we think about it, happiness could be defined as this enduring state of mind consisting not only of feelings of joy, contentment, and other positive emotions, but also a sense of my life is meaningful, my life is valued. So happiness is a measurement of how energized I am and how I want to keep that state of mind, right? And the findings from this happiness report clearly explain this, but let's ask ourselves the following. Are we, like the factors found in the report, also trustworthy? Are we generous? Do we give? Do we participate in charity or charitable giving? Are we supportive to each other? Are we free to make the most important decisions in our lives? And, do we have the comfort or material conditions? And I keep thinking in terms of Maslow pyramid of needs, right? Where are we in that pyramid? Are we still at the bottom, struggling for shelter and food, or have we come to a position in our lives where we can really look for a higher consciousness because we do have health and income necessary to live. So as I pause here, I want us to think in terms of what the happiness report tells us. And it says the following: the development of virtuous behaviors, right? That development needs a supportive social institution environment. right? So it is a country, which means there are boundaries around ensuring all of that infrastructure, that support system, the ability to be healthy and eat and have shelter, all of this. But I asked you, right? Is this enough? Is having the infrastructure enough for me to be happy? Well, let's go to Joanna de Angelis. What does she think about it? Well, she says the following, and I quote: the sentiments of love, charity, and gratitude, and justice, I'm sorry, love, justice, charity, and gratitude. Yeah, really important. Well, she says they are inherent in all of us. We are naturally good, and those feelings are denote a sense of nobility and beauty, right? However, Joanna continues to tell us that because we are still not as evolved as we should be as immortal spirits. She says we still lag the maturity in terms of the acquisition of those values because we go back and we're more connected to our primitive instincts and yes, our atavistic um, inheritance that we bring, all of that that we bring from our culture, from the past, and our past lives, what we bring with us, and the collective unconscious. So all of it, and I put my hand to the back because I keep thinking that it's all behind me, but that's what feeds me unless I decide to do something different. So Joanna goes back to say, yes, these qualities that is forward-looking qualities of love, justice, charity, and gratitude. Okay, love, justice, charity, and gratitude. Those qualities do not simply manifest naturally to ourselves. So they're connected with nations and countries that are happy, right? And we all have that. Cool to think about. Yet they don't express themselves naturally, organically. Joanna says they must be cultivated, they must be done with effort until they become an expression, an automatic expression of my own, your own, our own inner evolution. So I keep thinking to myself, unlike those so-called happy countries, right? What is that we see out there? We see actually very troubling manifestation of aggressive behavior, rebelliousness, and a sense of ingratitude. And those behaviors are really widespread. They're more common and they lead to, and I'm going to define the word because it's a big word, an important word. She says that they lead to a bellicose emotional and mental state in a climate for most of us humans. So bellicose simply means belligerent, contentious, quarrelsome, and this bellicose emotional and mental state just simply means that we are, ready to spring into aggression, to fight for what I think is mine, right? It's this readiness to fight, and it leads to, can you imagine, from a fight or flight instinct that we have, if we're constantly innately ready to fight, it just in my mind it just simply means that you're not at ease, You see, you're not at ease. You see danger all around us. What is it that is dangerous to ourselves today? I laugh when I keep thinking, yes, the fight or flight instincts were key when perhaps we lived in the African savannas and a lioness could come at any moment to kill us, right? But we don't. Most of us don't live in that geography. What is it that is so dangerous and so life-threatening that most of us human beings have has that bellicose nature, that instinct to keep on being ready to fight, right? Well, think about it as an example. Um, there are currently, and we talk about 2022, 2023, several areas and major areas of conflicts and war. And by that, what we mean is that a war is defined as any conflict that has led to over 10,000 combat related deaths. So there are many out there. I'm not going to read that, but those areas of conflicts span in the Americas, South and Central America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. And we see some peaceful areas or pockets of peace today. If you look into the global map related to conflicts, is North America, U.S. and Canada, as well as New Zealand and Australia. Good for them, right? But anyways, we start to see this point and counterpoint where happiness is innate in all of us, but we must focus on cultivating that so that we can become better at it. We can automatically, organically speaking, be ready to express that sense of goodness, love, and justice and charity, etc. On the other hand, we see many areas of conflict, which is a result of our yet very ungrateful or contemptuous nature. So, what does Joanna talk about gratitude and how can we put it all together? Joanna de Angelis says in this chapter that ingratitude, which is, she says, is a form of contempt. So, what is contempt? Well, if we go to Webster's, in the dictionary, it defines contempt as the feeling that a person or a thing is beneath you, that a thing or a person is worthless, that person or thing deserves disregard, is scorned, it's not important. And she says that type of attitude of superiority, therefore, you're not grateful, is what she calls an imperfection of the soul, as a defect of the soul that needs to be corrected. And okay, this is a lot of inputs into the discussion, right? So, who and how do we show or demonstrate, express our lack of gratitude? And she says, well, for the who, Joanna specifically talks about ungrateful people and or the person who can be better exemplified of as that person that finds something wrong in everything, that person that complains about everything. Nothing is good because I am ungrateful. I'm superior. I need more, and I go to an experience and I just look for what's wrong, right? And she says, well, those people are sick, right? How come, Joanna? Well, there is this perverse, her words, dissatisfaction that exemplify pride, that exemplifies this notion of superiority, and it is something that burns inside. It's not something comfortable. You're always looking for the things that are wrong. How do they do this? Well, for the how, Joanna simply says that those individuals, ungrateful individuals, they attribute all rights, it's quite interesting, all rights and merits to themselves. They deny anyone who was beneficial to them, and they show no consideration, no acknowledgement. Do you know anyone like that? Well, I know at least a couple very close to me. There is this the story of an elderly parent of a large family, and of all the children, he was approaching end of life, and all his children, right? And he looked for the one child that was really the least successful financially, or demonstrate least a sense of stability. So, in his wisdom, he says, okay, instead of, and I've seen this before, right? Instead of putting all my assets in my will to be dispersed among equally to all my children, I'm going to make sure that person receives, so that in a sense of equity, right? I'm going to make sure the person is equally able to live well, financially speaking. So they do that. They put in the will. They all signed, and that child, that one of the children, doesn't even look to say thank you. Thank you, parents, for noticing. Thank you, siblings, for providing this opportunity to me. Thank you, mother and father, for giving me something that will help me greatly. No, no sense. It was just a sense of, uh, okay, I guess it's mine. So, the way I look at it, how I interpret these words, is that this is all about being ungrateful, is all about being self centered, right? It's all about me, not about the actions, thoughts, empathetically or not, of those around me. It's all about my needs, and therefore I am self centered, and I have an egocentric attitude. And what I mean by that, and we're getting to the crux of the matter, I look into my ego as the driver for everything I do. Therefore, in a world that the ego is threatened, I'm ready to fight. Therefore, I become a bellicose person. Anyways, as we wrap up, getting close to wrap up this discussion, we are reminded that those of us, as we express our lack of gratitude, we quickly quickly forget the good. Remember, it's a mental attitude of looking what's wrong with everything. Therefore, when something good happens, I don't have the mental attitude to look. And even as I perceive the good, oh, I quickly forget them. And if I don't forget, I am quiet about the good that happens to me, right? And as I am aware of, I am a recipient of something, an award, recognition, a prize, a gift, an inheritance, I automatically internalize that it was owed to me, right? I am so, my sense of self importance is so large that anything that comes my way is insufficient. I'm just keep reflecting as I'm talking to you that this could be an interesting discussion regarding the idea of a sense of abundance, of scarcity. Lots of people today are talking about it, right? How do you see yourself in that scale of an abundant life or a life of scarcity? But if you look about it, I think we can agree with Joanna de Angelis, right? When she says that ingratitude, the big words here, is a festering, right? Moral sore. It is that wound in all of us whenever we express a lack of gratitude. When we feel that way and it festers, it grows, it's a mental attitude, and it really debilitates. Because of my own wound, I debilitate the social organization that I'm part of. So, as there are so many of us ungrateful people, right? More so than not, we are proud, we are independent, we are self sufficient, and I may depend completely from those around me. I will never acknowledge that. I am not willing to be a giving person and to acquiesce to all the good that is out there, to make this environment, this ecosystem that I'm part of, a happy one that can rise up to the index of the happy countries. But anyways, let's keep moving, because as we talk about those notions, we come with the idea of gratitude and healing in Jesus, right? The book is Jesus in Our Days, and yes, Jesus admonished, he reprehended all of those that were not grateful who crossed his path. And as we know, over 2000, about 2000 years ago, many of the poor, the hurt, those with a physical or a mental disabilities came to him asking, known for knowing of his healing powers. They went to him to look and ask for his help. And some of the examples that Joanna brings to us that I would like to also bring to you is the fact that you may remember there were 10 people suffering from leprosy. He heals all of them. And it is obvious to everyone, including Jesus, how ungrateful they were. Remember, you owe it to me to heal me, if we think in terms of self-centered, egocentric person. So one of them, just one out of 10% comes back to Jesus and recognizes and thanks Jesus for healing him from leprosy. And Jesus responds, where are the others? Were not 10 healed? So it's very interesting, right? And I pause to say, does Jesus really need us to thank him? No. The lack of gratitude is simply a signal of the mind and conscience of those who are not well. And by that I mean who are sick. There is something that is there that is leading to an attitude that is not better in terms of representing its well being, representing his ability to be well. The psychology of gratitude is the last book published by Joanna de Angelis, authored by Joanna de Angelis, in collaboration Divaldo, Pereira, Franco, that was published as part of the psychological series. And this book explores, there's an entire book about gratitude, right? It explores the significant role gratitude plays in our health, holistically speaking. And especially it focus in an era, a time that most of us are so indifferent for the pain of the others, right? We are so apathetic, and we are becoming a society of anxious or depressed people, or on the other hand, very angry, violent, cruel people, right? So remember, we talked about it before. It's all about how do you see yourself in relation to the other in this ecosystem that we call our culture, our country that we're immersed on, right? But if you are, and I would love for you to do that, if you're interested in reading about it, it's readily available online or printed. You also may want to explore just there is an interesting YouTube interview about this book, and it's in the form of an interview between Kirsten DeMello and Julio Padovan. I believe Julio was the translator of that work from the original in Portuguese into English. And they talk about the process of translating, but most important, what are the main highlights of the book. So I highly recommend. And before we close, I need to go back to Jesus, right? Yes, he healed those that had leprosy, and 9 of the 10 just rushed off. And it represents, of course, in this biblical narrative, how they, yes, Jesus healed them, but Jesus healed them in only external manner, right? If you think in terms of disease as a disease of the spirit, not of the body, he healed the symptom, which is the leprosy of the body. So he healed them on the outside, but the root cause that led to the disease was on the inside. And it's important for us to think about, to reflect upon the fact that inner healing can only happen when you and I become thankful, because as that a shift in I deserve to, I am thankful that this is occurring, will change us psychologically and morally. Another instance, if you want to think about it, right? He's at the last hours of Jesus. He's about to go on the cross. He's right there. He's suffering. Who came to even be there with him to support him? And I'm talking about those that he had healed. He There were blind ones that he gave the sight back, those who were deaf that were able to hear again, those who could not speak, those who were insane or delirious, those who were paralyzed, those who were considered dead in a cataleptic state, and was brought up to life, right? What happened to them? All of those forgot Jesus. All of those received something of significance in their lives, and they all failed to acknowledge. They demonstrated how ungrateful they were. And the counter part to it is, in a conscious perspective, they knew they had forgotten, therefore, they will deal at some point with the remorse, and with remorse will lead to being sick again. And it's a cycle that no matter what, we are responsible for our feelings, our words, our attitudes, our actions. And I know I am 5 minutes over my usual time. But I wanted to finish our talk today with this notion of pride and selfishness, right? And back to Jesus. Jesus, he knew all of our weaknesses, right? And he was always concerned about reaching them and really reaching within each one of those that were healed with the origins, the root cause of what led them to be sick. So when he did that, he would remove, right, what was leading to that state of disease, etc. And one of the example of that is that anyone who would come to the, he would ask, follow me. But for you to follow me, you need to detach yourself from everything that is imprisoning you, the all the worldly things that bring you down, and his words, let the kingdom of God be in your heart. And it's very interesting because we this brings to a discussion about how we look for what's most obvious, right? The material nature of our lives. We look for all those things that supposedly give us a sense of contentment, but they only give a momentaneous, ephemeral joy that is usually led by a sensorial pleasure versus the spiritual joy, the sense of contentment, the sense that we're meeting our requirements to grow, right? So if we think about it, this superficiality our interest leads us to the need for immediate gratification, right? And because it is a cycle, a very short cycle, by the way, I only focus on the external surface types of needs or desires or yearnings. I want that immediate gratification that leads, as we all know, to anxiety and some mental imbalances. So we, as immature spirits, right? We do things, and there's a little book by Shel Silverstein, The Giving Tree, right? And I remember reading this book. I was like, oh, that is so terrible because you just keep, the tree gives the fruit and you pluck it, and the tree gives the shade and you put a swing, and the tree does that, but you start cutting to do things for you, including all the way to the wood, the tree itself. And I read that and I said, how unsustainable that is for us to once be one-sided, to take and take and take and never give back, right? And so that giving tree should have a very different story if I were to write it on my own, from my own perspective or based on what we're discussing here. And the predatory, often predatory bent toward us satisfying an innate, immature need of my ego to make myself feel good. I don't look around, I take, I don't put it back until the moment where the poetry is over. I need shade and I need the fruits of the tree, and I'll go hungry because I was blindsided. I was unaware of my actions, right? The results of my actions. So if we think about it as a person who is ungrateful and who is proud and who is selfish, I most likely will end up alone and I will be hurting and I no longer trust anyone. So I will become neurotic and I will, I will not feel loved. And in my pride, I will be ignored, but I will suffer because I no longer have what I need. So Joanna says, okay, do not concern yourself with those who are ungrateful in your path as you so love. This is beautiful, right? She says, press on, be the light that the source of light that offers light without looking at those people that say, no, I don't want your light. I prefer to stay in the darkness. That's their journey, that's their time. So she says, press on. And wherever you are, whenever you turn on your lamp, know that your light will be enlightening those around you regardless. And those who receive the benefits of what you do, who you are, how enlightenment or how much light you bring, they'll learn or not, and there will be a cycle that will come back to you. At some point, those individuals will remember you and they will then start to emulate your actions and pass on the gifts that you, on your turn, passed on to them. So, Joanna says it's important that you understand that it's really irrelevant if what you do, like Jesus, brings a response from those people that you help. It's their issue. They'll become sick again in his case, right? So let's just keep on going. Let's be part of a happy family, a happy community, a happy, grateful group of people that sheds light, brings light to all of those around you. Anyways, I hope our discussion today can inspire you to begin each and every day with love, with courage, with gratitude. And I hope to see you next time when we wrap up our conversations with the last title, the last chapter, Jesus and Enemies. And we will then, at that point, to start to transition to the next book in our book club series. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I hope this was a good discussion. Bye bye.